Welcome back to the deep dive. Grab a coffee, get comfortable, because today we are getting into something incredibly fascinating.
And honestly, highly practical for a very specific subset of you out there.
Yeah, exactly. If you're tuning in today, there's a very good chance you are an overseas listener. Maybe you're an expat currently living in Asia.
Right. Or maybe you're back home, but you're navigating the, let's be completely honest, sometimes incredibly complicated world of international dating.
Absolutely rewarding, but complicated. You might be falling for a Chinese woman right now, or you're just really intrigued by Chinese culture and relationship dynamics. You're looking at the long term, you're thinking about the future, and you're trying to genuinely understand the cultural expectations surrounding marriage.
Which is a huge topic.
It's massive. So what do? You do what we all do. You hit the internet,
Mm.
you start doing some late night Google searches, scrolling through forums, trying to get a handle on what to expect. And almost certainly you've stumbled across a term that gets thrown around a lot online, usually with a ton of heavy, intimidating, and anxiety-inducing baggage attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
That term is Caili, and it's frequently translated into English as the bride price.
Yeah, and if you grew up in the West, hearing the phrase bride price probably makes you instantly tense up.
It sounds archaic, it sounds transactional, and it sounds like a massive cultural roadblock.
Completely.
So our mission today is to take all the sociological data, the cultural research, and the real-world experiences from the ground in China and just completely strip away the online sensationalism.
We have to. It's so necessary.
We are going to decode what this tradition actually is, why it exists, how it functions in modern society, and most importantly, how you can navigate it respectfully and thoughtfully without losing your mind or your savings account.
I am so glad we are tackling this because the level of misinformation out there is staggering.
It really is.
When you encounter this concept in Western media or on those expat Reddit threads, it is almost exclusively portrayed in a highly sensationalized, extremely negative light.
Always.
It gets framed purely as a transaction,
Yeah.
as if we were talking about a literal purchase of a human being.
Right.
But when you actually dive into the research and look at the cultural fabric behind Caili, it reveals something entirely different. It is a deeply nuanced, incredibly practical, and constantly evolving tradition.
It's not just a flat fee.
No, not at all. At its
Mhm.
core, it is not about commerce. It's fundamentally centered on respect. It's about honoring deep-rooted family dynamics. And surprisingly, for a lot of people, it's about establishing a secure financial foundation for a brand new couple.
Which we're going to get deep into later because that is a wild twist for most Westerners.
It's a complex social mechanism. If you walk into this with a strictly Western individualistic mindset, where marriage is just about two people in love making their own rules.
Just you and me against the world.
Exactly. If you have that mindset and you don't understand that broader family context, you are going to misinterpret almost everything about it, and you're going to cause a lot of unnecessary friction in your relationship.
Okay, let's unpack this from the very beginning, because words matter. The way we translate things often sets our brains down a specific path, and in this case, it usually sets people off on the wrong foot immediately.
The translation is the biggest hurdle.
Let's start with the literal and historical meaning of Caili, because bride price sounds like an invoice,
Yeah.
but if we look at the actual linguistic roots, the translation is entirely different.
It is. The word Caili actually translates much closer to colorful gift or auspicious etiquette.
I want you to just think about the feeling that phrase evokes for a second. A colorful gift.
It's completely different.
It sounds celebratory, it sounds joyous, significant, and welcoming. It absolutely does not sound like a bill of sale.
It really doesn't. And that linguistic distinction is your first clue that the Western lens is distorting the picture. The character Kai denotes something colorful, auspicious, or lucky, and Li refers to etiquette manners or a ceremonial gift. It's about propriety.
Right.
The basic definition we are working with is that traditionally, this refers to money, goods, or valuables given by the groom's family to the bride's family prior to the marriage.
Now, I know what you're thinking if you're listening to this. You're hearing money given to the bride's family, and your brain is going right back to the idea of a transaction.
Of course it is.
Right. I mean, I have to push back on you a little here. I hear colorful gift, which sounds lovely, but if I'm expected to hand over $20,000 or $30,000 to my future in-laws just to get their blessing to marry their daughter, it still feels incredibly transactional to me.
Sure.
As an outsider, how do I square that circle? How is this not just buying a bride under a prettier name?
I completely get why it looks that way to a Westerner, and it's a totally valid question. To understand why it's not a transaction, You have to fundamentally shift your perspective on what a marriage was historically meant to achieve in agrarian Chinese society.
Okay, let's go back in time a bit.
In the West, we largely view marriage as the culmination of romantic love between two independent adults. You fall in love, you move out, you start your own life.
The nuclear family model.
Exactly. But historically in China, marriage was an alliance. It was the formal merging of two distinct family networks, two lineages, two entire economic support systems.
Wow, okay.
You weren't just marrying a woman, your family was integrating with her family.
So it's less like two kids moving into an apartment together and more like a corporate merger between two long-standing companies.
That's actually a very solid analogy. When the groom's family presents the Caili, they are participating in a profound symbolic gesture that acknowledges that merger.
Okay.
The research emphasizes that this gift symbolizes respect and sincerity above all else. In a historical context where there were no social safety nets, no 401ks, no government welfare, a family's survival depended entirely on their resources and their community alliances.
That makes total sense. Life was incredibly precarious.
Very. So Caili was a tangible, undeniable proof of the groom's, and by extension his family's ability to provide for his future wife. It was a way for the groom's side to look the bride's parents in the eye and say, we recognize the immense value of the daughter you have raised.
Almost like a proof of concept.
Yes, we respect the sacrifices you've made to get her to this point, and we have the actual material resources and the deep commitment required to ensure she will be well cared for in this new chapter of her life.
It's about demonstrating capability and earnestness. It is not about assigning a monetary value to her as a person.
Exactly. And if you're listening to this, this is exactly the paradigm shift you need to grasp if you are serious about a future with a Chinese partner.
You have to make that mental leap.
You are stepping out of the you and me against the world narrative. You are stepping into a deeply family-centric model.
In this model, her parents are not just bystanders who show up to the wedding for the photos and then go home.
No. They're active, deeply invested stakeholders in the success and stability of your union.
Right, and if you view their involvement or their expectation of certain traditions like a colorful gift as an intrusion or worse, a shakedown, you are going to project a lot of defensiveness.
And by doing that, you are completely missing the profound cultural language being spoken.
You're missing a massive opportunity to demonstrate the exact kind of respect that builds a lifelong bond with your new extended family.
What's fascinating here is how the historical record completely shatters the transactional myth that gets so much airtime today.
Oh, this part blew my mind.
If we are looking at this as a pure transaction, we are ignoring half of the equation. We have to talk about the power of reciprocity, specifically the dowry.
Right, because it wasn't just the guy paying.
Historically, it wasn't just the groom's family bringing wealth to the table. The bride's family simultaneously prepared a dowry, often called jiaswang, to bring into the marriage alongside the bride.
And the amounts here are crazy.
The historical data notes that this dowry very frequently matched, or in many wealthy families, actually exceeded the value of the Caili provided by the groom's family.
Wait, really? So the bride's family was putting up just as much, if not more, capital?
Frequently, yes.
That completely changes the narrative. You never hear about that on the expat forums. You only hear about the guy writing the check.
Exactly, because the outrage narrative is simpler and more clickable. But if we look at the complete sociologically accurate picture, it was never a one-way street where money was exchanged for person.
Right.
It was historically a mutual pooling of family resources. Both families were taking their accumulated wealth and contributing it to establish this newly formed household.
Okay, I see.
The groom's family brings the Caili, the bride's family brings the dowry, and together they are capitalizing the new couple. They're giving them the tools they need to survive and thrive.
It is a joint investment in the future of their shared descendants.
That is the exact opposite of a simple transaction where money is traded for a good and the relationship ends. This is the beginning of a lifelong, intertwined economic and social relationship.
I love that framing. A joint investment. It completely lowers the emotional temperature of the conversation.
It really does.
It takes the defensive sting out of it. It's not, I am paying you. It is, we are both contributing to the foundation of this new family unit we're creating together.
Right.
Think of it less like a purchase price and more like how two sets of parents might get together to help a young couple with a down payment on their first house. It's seed money.
Precisely. And understanding that historical intent is crucial because it sets the stage for everything that happens today.
Right, but I think that's the perfect pivot point because while those historical roots are absolutely fascinating and really essential for understanding the underlying mindset, if you're listening right now, you are likely wondering what this actually looks like today
Right on the ground in modern China.
in 2026. Because China has undergone one of the most rapid, unprecedented economic transformations in human history.
The speed of change is unbelievable.
Society has changed, the economy has exploded, women are highly educated and heavily represented in the workforce, and traditions don't just stay frozen in amber.
No, they adapt.
So let's look at the modern landscape of Caili. Specifically, how geography, the law, and modern economics play into it today.
This is where it gets really complicated.
Because when you look at the data, it becomes very clear immediately that there is no single uniform experience of Caili in modern China.
Not at all.
The amounts, the expectations, and even the tone of the conversation vary drastically depending on where your partner is from.
The regional disparity is perhaps one of the most critical aspects for our listener to internalize. You cannot treat China as a monolith.
It's too big.
Way too big. A relationship with someone from a Tier 1 metropolis is going to have entirely different cultural guardrails than a relationship with someone from a farming village.
Okay, break that down for us.
The research highlights a very stark contrast. Let's look at the rural areas first. In some rural provinces, the Caili expectation might range from the equivalent of $10,000 to $30,000, sometimes even more.
Just to pause on that, 30,000 US dollars.
It's massive.
In a rural economy where the average annual income might only be a few $1,000s, that is a staggering amount of money.
It is.
That represents a massive multi-generational financial undertaking for a family to scrape together. And the wild thing is the law doesn't mandate this, right?
Not at all. The data explicitly states that Caili is not required by law. In fact, the Chinese